Hey everybody, Shay here. Time for part 2 of this book haul summary of the last 3 months of thrift shop hunting for a bunch of collections that I've either started because of this channel and being able to find authors that I've heard come up on BookTube as well that have intrigued me, has piqued my interest. It's buy 4 books, get the 5th one free. I usually go in with a 20% off coupon, sometimes 30%. I get a lot of books for very cheap. And so without further ado, I'm going to talk about this collection here. This is Christopher Moore is an author that I started reading 25 years ago. Does that sound, it feels like a very long time ago, but it was in the early 2000s. My friends were getting into Christopher Moore. Yeah, I think my goal back in those days was to read them in order. And so there's Practical Demon Keeping. Pretty sure I read that. Then Coyote Blue. I didn't read Blood-Sucking Fiends. I went straight to Island of Sequine, Love Nuns, and then The Lust Lizard of Melancholy Cove. I always have this like weird memory. I've talked about this in past vlogs where I'm not sure if I read both of those books or it's that my friends talked about the fact that they continue, or there's a character that continues between the two books. You'll all know more than I do. Anyways, I found these 4 books over the last year at the thrift shop for this book cover type. I like this. These are the ones I remember. This kind of design. This is the oddball cover. I'm not sure if there's a different cover for Lamb. I ended up reading this a couple months ago. It took me a while to kind of get into it. I got about halfway, and then I just started reading other things, and then I just slammed the last half. It got really intriguing in the last half. It was all kind of fun. It's just like there's something with Christopher Moore's writing where I'm in the mood to like get right through it all, or if I take breaks, or I need to take the breaks because I just need to absorb the kind of stuff that the shenanigans, the hijinks, the prose hijinks, and because it's like comedy mixed in with like serious prose, I guess, or stories, or this, but it's never serious. It's like a comedy, man. Anyways, they're fun. In any case, this isn't a book vlog. This is about what have I found in the last 3 months. I ended up finding this You Suck book. So we got Christopher Moore, You Suck. Oh my God, I thought this was the double. No, it was Fluke. This one I actually listened to this one on audiobook. I didn't mention this one, but yes, I got through Fluke on audiobook like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I feel like these are really far away years, but I know where I was when I got through them. And so it's kind of in that zone, but I could be wrong with the years. Don't quote me. Anyways, I got You Suck, and I ended up finding Blood-Sucking Fiends. So I can go back to reading the continuity of Christopher Moore. Like, I feel like I really remember Demon Keeping, and I really remember Fluke. The Love Nun, and again, because those ones are entangled, I might have to go back to those books. But anyways, I feel like I could read these back in order and get through them. It's like an audiobook will just rip through these. And so maybe the old ones that I have already read, I would listen to them just to catch up in continuity, and then I'm going to start putting these into continuity so that I can actually start to get through the Christopher Moore collection. So that's all from thrift shops over the last year and a half. So it's a pretty good haul. I think I'm still missing a few of them. I'm going to have to put them on my list, but it's going good. This collection is going good. I just realized that we have one of these things does not belong here book in the middle of there. So Blood-Sucking Fiends was from a different press, but it does have the same trade dress. So sometimes I find it's the American covers versus the UK cover editions. Like the print format will be slightly different in their paperbacks. Anyways, there's Christopher Moore. We'll move on. The next series was kind of an accident that I stumbled on because I didn't know that they were doing novels for The Walking Dead, but they were. And I found The Road to Woodbury, and I found Walking Dead Rise of the Governor, and I found these like pretty early on in my thrift haul hunting shenanigans that happened a year and a half ago. I eventually found The Walking Dead, The Fall of the Governor, Part 1 in hardback. These are the 3 books I found in the last year and a half, and I thought that was pretty much it because I have run into dead end after dead end after dead end. I cannot find any more of these books, but thankfully I ended up finding this one here, The Walking Dead, The Fall of the Governor, Part 1 and 2. So although I have this hardback, which I can get rid of, I now have Part 1 and 2 in one format, which I feel is prettier because it matches the other formats. I mean, sort of. This one kind of does not match. That's okay. In any case, 2 books in one. Can't go wrong, especially in these thrift shop hauls where you're buying, again, 4 and getting the 5th free. You get a book that has 2 or 3 books in it, like a collection or something like that. It's like, bam, that's a bonus. So that's great. And again, for $6.50 Canadian. So I don't know what that is in American. $2. I'm just at $2. It's like, I don't know, it's a 5 something. Anyways, it's still good. Let's say it's $5 American, right? It's still a pretty good deal for 2 books, and the book is in perfect condition. The pages are relatively white, as you can see in the camera. There's no dings. There's no creases in the spine either. Likely, I mean, there's a little bit of warpage from being on the shelf, but perfect condition books on all of these, honestly. Like, there's a little bit of yellowing on 2 of these, but I mean, that could have been because they're on my shelf now, because I've had them here for a year. But man, the pages are crisp. There's no fraying. Look at this. So the collection is solid. Oh, I didn't even continue. And then I found, this is the Descent. I found Descent as well. So it's the next book along the line. Now, I feel like the deeper I get into this, the harder it is to find these, I'm sure, because I'm probably going to buy them new, to be honest, because these are already new, you know what I mean? And I would have already bought these. I would have bought The Walking Dead brand spanking new. So can't go wrong. $6 for this one, and then $6.50 for this one, Canadian. Can't go wrong. And I think even the other ones are pretty good prices. We got a $5 in here. We got a $5 in here. Even the hardcover is probably, yeah, $6. So the Walking Dead collection is coming along. There you go. So yeah, there's one repeat in there, but still a pretty good haul right now for a year and a half into the Walking Dead hunt at the thrift shops. And can't go wrong. Can't go wrong, because I have enough to read now in continuity that's going to keep me busy inside this world for a bit. So we're moving on. Highlight the books I found so far for Neil Gaiman. I ended up finding Neverwhere. And again, the books, it's a mass market paperback, but it's in pretty decent condition. I've been aware of Neverwhere for, I'm saying, decades at this point. We got American Gods. I ended up reading this maybe 10 years ago, I believe, American Gods. But look at that, it's chunky. I don't remember it being this chunky. I think it was an audiobook when I said reading. No, because I was on a road trip. Yes, I was on a road trip and driving. So it was an audiobook. It was an audiobook. So I got through I was driving across Canada, and we were talking like it was 20 days on the road, and my radio broke down, and I had 4 audiobooks with me, thank God. One of them was Stephen King's, like, On Writing. That was so good. It was so much more than I expected. Like, halfway through, it just turns into this journal. I'm derailing. Here's the point is, if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. It was a good one. And it was American Gods was another one. And then there's the Nancy Boys. They're characters that came up in American Gods. And so I didn't know that they made a book for the Nancy Boys. But I'm kind of intrigued to see where this goes. The book condition is pretty decent. And then we have this one here, which I was not aware of either. It's called The Graveyard Book. I'm not sure if this is a children's story or not, but the words are a little bit larger, so I'm assuming it's for a young audience, YA. But I had never heard of it. But on the cover, it does say with illustrations by Dave McKean. Now I was a big, like, back when I was a teenager in the mid 90s, Sandman was the first comic graphic novels and whatnot. They were all gifted. There were 10 volumes of them, and they were gifted to me over one Christmas. I was like, it was a lot of money. It was like my main present was the entire collection. So I've been really inspired by Neil Gaiman's writing, despite all the controversy stuff that's going on. It's like 30 years of influence from a writing perspective that I'm still intrigued by the way he writes, despite everything else. I ended up finding in the last month or so, Fragile Things. I was not familiar with this either. Again, I'm not really tracking what he's writing in the last decade, you know what I mean? But it's Fragile Things. It was a short story collection. I love short story collections anyways. I always have a couple options in there to throw in if I have to just get that 5th book or 10th book or 15th book or 20th book. Anyways, the point is Fragile Things, any anthologies will work out. And so yeah, I threw this one into the basket, and I read the first story already, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's a Neil Gaiman story, and so again, you might hate the guy. I get it, but his storytelling is a major influence on my own style from a imagination perspective, and the weaving of myth and modern and stuff like that is something that I've always I can't let go of. It's part of it's fundamentally part of me. And then we got another Neil Gaiman book which I had never heard of, which is called Trigger Warning. Seems like an appropriate title for some. Anyways, and it's short fiction and disturbances. I wonder if this came out before or after the situations. It's a short story collection, but I don't think it's YA. I wouldn't imagine it's YA. If anyone knows anything about trigger warning, and by trigger warning, I don't mean the controversy. If anyone's read any of these and has any opinions on the short stories that happen in here, let me know what you think. I still remember like reading online. Again, this would have been 20 years ago, post Matrix. The Matrix website had a short story of Neil Gaiman, and it's still, that story sometimes haunts me. Like the idea of stuff that was in that story. Which he talks about that in the intro here of Fragile Things. As I was getting to the first story, he talks about one of the backgrounds of like, he was asked to write a story for the movie before the movie was even out. And so he wrote something based on, I don't want to give the spoiler away. It was a very short story, and I think it's still online somewhere, offered for free. But anyways, he talks about that here, which is kind of intriguing me, because it could be like short stories that were done on side projects here and there and whatever over the last 30, 40 years for all I know. But if anyone knows anything else about Fragile Things, let me know. I'm curious. And then we're going to move on. I feel like I should have talked about this one after The Walking Dead, but I found an anthology. It says edited by Jonathan Maberry and George A. Romero, Nights of the Living Dead. And it looks like an anthology of zombie short stories. So That's another one of those scenarios where it's an anthology, horror, zombies, vampires, werewolves, whatever. I'm going to probably pick ghosts. I'm going to probably pick it up. You know, I love reading short, especially horror short stories. I don't really read a lot of horror long form, you know, but short stories I love. Now, when I picked this up, it looked like it was in perfect condition because the top part is, but then at the bottom, there's some water warpage or something that happened here. Or if it's not water, it's just some warpage. It's like it got dinged somewhere. I don't know if the camera's going to focus there. You can barely see it, but there's a weird crease on the bottom corner, which sort of sucks. There you go. It's kind of got crammed in between a bar or something like that. But it's otherwise a relatively unread book. The spine is pretty crisp. So I'm kind of looking forward to a bunch of short stories with zombies. It's something, it's literally a project I would like to do someday because it just feels like this fun world to explore in different ways. And Walking Dead has a huge influence on that, just to kind of see the zombie genre from a human centric survival perspective. That seems like that's the trope. That's like what it's supposed to be about. But I like the idea, and I forget what it was. Probably a Robert Kirkman interview back at 20 years or something like that, where there was a comment made about how the stories aren't really about the zombies being the threat in the world. It's that it's the threat of humans in a world of zombies. And that's what actually becomes the main survival threat to other humans. It's not the actual zombies. You sort of just deal with the zombies like you deal with forces of nature or something like that. But it's human condition, and as it devolves and the impact of that on society, really you get to push a lot of those extremes and see what it's on. They're almost like thought experiments for philosophy. I think that's kind of intriguing. And I'm not going to pull the other books of this out because at this point everyone's relatively familiar with the Harry Potter series. So right now I've got all books except for the first book. I ended up picking up finally The Prisoners of Azkaban and Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I'm looking for these specific editions. They're the hardcovers. I actually feel like I thought I got the wrong one at this point. There could be like different printings, like there's like the English printings, which are actually a little bit shorter, and they don't have the sleeves on them, if I recall correctly. They're like printed. I mean, they literally look like this. They look like this without the sleeves. So there's a chance I probably don't have the right versions. I don't know why I've got to be OCD about this, but I kind of wanted the original versions, and I do feel like I'm grabbing the Goblet of Fire, and it although it looks the same, it doesn't feel the same as this book. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is that makes me feel that or think that. I mean, the pages are definitely, it's like a crisp book. It's a brand new book, but I'm wondering if it's the binding or the spine of it, but it's thicker, so I'm not sure. Anyways, listen, the the publisher is still Raincoast, but this one says Blood. What's that mean? Like there's like Raincoast, but then there's also this one down here. I'm not sure if that means anything. If anyone knows, let me know. I feel like they're the same edition. I mean, the backs have the same sort of art style on them. That looks like Tony Didderlisi. Is that Tony Didderlisi? Like the old Planescape artist and Spiderwick Chronicles and stuff like that? Oh, it's printed in Canada, Manitoba. I would not have guessed that. All right, well, I'm not seeing the art mentioned here. Let's see, in Prisoner. Oh, printed and bound in Canada as well. All right, well, look, I don't know who the artist is, but that definitely looks like a very familiar art style to me. I would not be surprised if that's Tony Didderlisi. Anyways, so there you go. I got these two books. I'm missing the first one. I found it in softcover. I found it in paperback. I found there's like a new format for these books that are very, very pretty. They're like the modern ones where the covers they're soft. It's soft. It's a paperback, but the images have like glitter or shiny stuff on them. I didn't look at them deep enough because then I'm like, I would want them instead of these ones, but like I had committed to this. So because I just want the original set. Because again, despite the controversy, you see a theme going on here. I'm buying them used, so it's no big deal. Like, right? But it's like the idea of I just want to read the book. I want to read the entire series. I've watched the movies. I want to eventually read the series. I've gotten to book 3, but I haven't read the entire series in prose. And so I'm kind of keen on trying to get that done at some point or the other. That's a hefty book though. Anyways, and then to wrap up this video, so that one more of my columns is gone. I've got another Ian Rankin. We got the complete short stories. So we got A Good Hanging, Beggar's Banquet, and plus a brand new Inspector Rebus story, which I don't know what it is, but I believe I had both of these books in paperback format, and they were pretty crummy, to be honest. So this is one of those odd finds that I wouldn't have gotten because I already have the books on the list, and I just want to read them, and then they're done, right? But at the end of the day, it's like the condition was so good here. Editor Shay here, interjecting. I'm at the part of the video where I'm talking about this complete short stories for A Good Hanging and A Beggar's Banquet, and while I was roaming around out there, I actually crossed my Ian Rankin shelf, and I wanted to see just how bad condition the books were in that I talked about, that they were kind of crummy. And these were not the most crummy of the paperbacks that I have, but they're pretty warpy. Pretty warpy. That's me holding them straight at the bottom, and this is what the spines look like, and they're exceptionally creased. They're well read. They're well read little booklets here. The covers are otherwise in pretty decent condition. I mean, yes, super yellowy, you know, but this one replaces at least two of the mass market paperback books in my collection, so they all look like this size right now. Soft cover and hardcover, but at least it matches. There you go. Back. I actually got to knock out two books, even though I might have paid $4 for each or $5 for each. This is a $7 book, but this format, man, it's just cleaner. It feels like it fits with the other collection. There's about 40 books in the Ian Rankin run that I started chasing down at the thrift shop. I think I'm somewhere in the 33, 34 mark. Like, I'm pretty high up there. After a year and a half, it's been a pretty crazy run, and it's getting extremely hard to find the new Ian Rankins. I don't know if I have to go any further out of the province or something like that. I feel like this province is called Ian Rankin. I got everything I could, and there's maybe only like 2 or 3 that are in bad enough condition where I would replace them if I found a better copy. But I'm really just enjoying the ride of just getting through Ian Rankins, and then it's just, I had never thought I'd read crime fiction, you know, but because of this channel and because of just getting inspired to read different things and jump into other recommendations out there from different channels that love different genres, it just makes me curious as well to see the different writing styles across these authors or genres that I'm less familiar with over, you know, 40 plus years of reading. So Ian Rankin, he's my detective, I guess, modern noir. Does that make sense? That's kind of what I feel from him. I've read, like, I'm in the second collection book of his. Did I read all 3? So I guess I'm 6 books in to Ian Rankin at this point. 3 books in the first hardcover and 3 books in the second hardcover. And I'm not sure what these fit in. These are smaller books. So there you go. I think I'm going to wrap this one up. I still have so many books to talk about, but I want to keep these relatively short so that we can do these in patterns and I can organize my books. And I get to pull out the other books along the way to see how far I've gotten after this year and a half of book chasing in thrift haul shops. Anyways, I used to do this like when I was a teenager 30 years ago at this one shop I was going to, and there was only the one shop in town, and 30 years later there's like 4 of them, and another 5th one just opened up in a pretty decent radius between me and my work job and stuff like that, and if I have to go to the airport or out of town. And it's become a fun hobby of like me chasing these books down at different thrift shops when I'm on road trips or something like that, or have to go further for my work. I just look for where the value villages are around me and I go check them out. I still haven't explored beyond the value villages. I'm trying to narrow my focus of the chase, but as I get a little closer to reaching the ends of some of these collections where I'm only missing a couple here and there, I might have to start exploring like legitimate book thrift shops, you know, as opposed to thrift shops that have book sections. Anyways, it's been fun. I will get to another column possibly still tonight. Let me organize these ones, edit this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to explore, engage, and inspire, buddy. Peace.